Good morning and Happy New Year from chilly Buffalo. I'm Mike Shope with ADP Chasing. This beloved show has reached 2025. Who could have believed it? It was an exciting week for Week 18. Lots of playoff stuff to figure out all the way into last night with Minnesota and Detroit. We'll talk about the effects of that game in these best ball drafts. Now that we know the bracket, gets interesting to talk about. More interesting. Also, it was contract incentives week. I have one in mind. By the way, every minute we go past 1 hour, I get a bonus unit. We'll see if our heroes will feed me a la Mike Evans or sabotage me. With Pat Terrain and Davis Maddock, I'm Mike Shope. This is ADP Chasing, January 6th, 2025.
ADP Chasing is for when you watch Ship Chasing, you go, these guys are just football guys.
And the targets per outrun leagues, that's going to be really nice.
Actually, back in if it's Ashton.
Stare into our crystal ball. Close your eyes, all your entries are going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a Deuce Vaughn show.
It's anti-cabal. It's anti the best ball thought leaders. I'm obviously lying to some degree because, I have a lot of both of these guys.
It's the most disgusting pick you can make. But, man.
Hello again. Davis, you lost your dog. I'm so sorry to hear about that. Mishka,
yeah. It was brutal, man. I was just waking up doing my Sunday morning routine, and she's old, and she'd been kind of off for the last week. And I just told my wife, I was like, you got to, and it's snowstorming here. We got about 12 inches. So I was like, I got to go work, but you got to take her to the vet. She is not, something's wrong. She had an upset stomach for a month. And the vet told us she had pancreatitis, which she did, but it was inflamed because she had a huge, basically just a giant tumor on her liver. And they're like, yeah, once basically something popped in her stomach, and that, you got blood in your guts, and that's pretty much it. She woke up yesterday morning, and that was it, man. Yeah.
Sorry, man.
It's brutal stuff. You hate to see it. She had a great life, though. She had a great life.
It is. My first dog, which was just last year when we put him down, he was 16, Samson. And always, the best case scenario is there will be that day where you arrive at the conclusion, but it's still terrible. And it was with him, once he really couldn't get up on his own, quality of life and all of that. So we had people come to the house. It was beautiful. My daughter got really close, and it was a really special moment. And now we have little Margot, who's a pug that's, basically shortening my life by 20 years. So.
You're the dad. You're the dad that didn't want the dog.
Oh, is that the dynamic?
You're the stereotypical dad who didn't want the dog.
And then you're absolutely in love with the dog?
I love the dog, but I can't, even this morning, I'm trying to put some notes together for you guys, and she just brings the little red ball over, let's go.
Oh yeah.
There's just my wife works at home, and the best is when the dog just sort of sleeps on her lap, but she's still contorted, trying to do her vital complex and everything like this. And Margot just will not let you be. But we love that about her. So condolences, Davis. It's tough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry,
it's brutal. I've had dogs for long time. Always been a dog person, but it never, you think you're a tough guy. You think nothing, you think everything kind of just rolls off you, and everything kind of does roll off me interpersonally, not to get too political here on the show, but I'm kind of a person in life that nothing really shakes me. I kind of just get up and move to the next thing.
All your entries are going to lose anyway.
All your entries are going to lose anyways, but not with dogs, man. Not with, it's just, it's something about it, man. Something you just can't turn that off.
They're
At least
good, man.
I can't. Yeah.
They're
great.
We also have a cockatiel. We had a cockatiel, Nico. I taught him to whistle the Godfather theme. So much fun at parties.
With a dog?
No, with the bird.
With the bird.
No. I'm saying you had a cockatiel dog in the house.
Yes. Well, Nico flew out, and we spent a week looking for him just futilely. He's so small and had no chance almost. But now we have Sergeant Peeper, and she doesn't whistle anything, and I resent her. But yes, we keep them mostly separate. Anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say no chance would my dogs allow a bird in the house. Like I have a
No.
6-month-old golden retriever puppy. If there was a bird in the house, she would find a way. That would be dinner one night eventually.
Murphy barely tolerates a baby. He's just like, what are we doing? What is the point of this thing?
What's going on? What's going on?
He just she'll like kind of climb up his fur, and he just looks at me like, why?
Crane, it's so funny. It is so funny that we both have a dog named Murphy. I mean, it's just
that is wild.
It's just very bizarre.
Do I need one? Is that how this works? Would that help me?
Yeah, I think you do. You got to get. Corain has a doodle. I have a retriever, so you need a lab. You need a golden lab named Murphy.
Yeah, Chesley, very influential.
I'll tell my wife as soon as we're done. Okay, week 18. How did it go for you? What did you guys do yesterday, Pat? Like, what's week 18 for you?
I actually didn't. I decided not to play DFS and
cash game week, dude. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, I didn't play cash. I don't play cash. It's cash game week, so I didn't play. But yeah, just watched the games like a normie, and I was like, "This is fun." Just sat around and was like, "Oh,
really? You enjoyed that?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed one week of the year, and then I'll go back to trying to predict it again.
To me, that is literally insane. Like what you just said to me. What you just said to me is so psychotic, dude.
This with the dog and the baby, just had the games on. I was like, "Oh, well, look at that! That's a nice pass."
You're congratulating the players on their good plays.
You're watching Tanner McKee. You're watching Giants Eagles. You're like, this Tanner McKee. There's something going on there. Yeah.
Oh, no, pretty nice scramble there by Bo Nix. Yeah. Jeez.
Well, our Lord Pete had no time for Bills Patriots. So guess what I didn't do yesterday? Is go to that game.
I mean, come on, that game.
That would have been a disaster. But you dynasty Josh Allen do this once and then go to the bench. Like,
well, I think I would have enjoyed being at Gillette Stadium around hundreds, if not thousands, of Patriots fans booing the Patriots every time they did something well.
Yeah, Joe Milton does something super sick, and the Patriots are like, "You suck! Please stop!"
How terrible for the players, right? Like they're just trying to do their thing, and they're going to beat Buffalo, whatever. They're going to win a game, and the fans just hate them for it.
Well, I mean I feel like you should hate them more. Like winning that game was such a brutal self-own. Like they had the number one pick. Think about what they could have gotten from trading down from 1 to 4, and they just gave it away by beating the Bills backups in a meaningless game.
Well, do you think Milton was a tank move? Because I kind of do. Like they started May for 3 plays. I don't know why you would do that. And then they go to their third string where they probably weren't expecting him to look great, but he kind of did.
I honestly think Brissett would have been the better tank. He just there's no ceiling with him.
Yeah.
But it's less obvious when you go to a young guy, and maybe you get is Milton interesting now? Maybe is that I'm squinting to ask that, but maybe he's interesting now.
He's Snoop Huntley-esque. I would say that,
No, so the thing with Milton is your quintessential all the tools, none of the software quarterback. That was what he was in college. That was what he was yesterday. It's not like
there were reports the 49ers were considering taking him 3 overall.
I can't believe you passed on a chance to play Trey Lance at DFS yesterday. I mean, really, you should be embarrassed.
That was your last chance.
Just for Bryce Young to cook him.
Trey Lance is going to be he's going to start a couple games for the Tennessee Titans next year.
Yeah.
On purpose?
That's just how it's going to happen,
Okay.
Yeah. That'll cuz they will this is year 4 for him, so they'll decline the option. He'll be a free agent. Okay.
What do you think of like if you're one of these teams that gets locked out of the rookie quarterback class, and it's not that great of a class, but like you bring in Lance, you bring in Fields, you see if you can get like Malik Willis.
You draft Jalen Monroe, you sign Lance, you sign Fields, and you just lock him in. You just lock him into a room and just see who comes out on top, and you're like, that's my guy.
But I think you just go, we are running like the option. Like we're like I no longer care about, I'm not gonna call less designed runs to keep any of these guys healthy. You're all running backs who throw the ball now.
Yeah.
And if we have to go to the next guy, we'll go to the next guy.
Crane, I really believe that this is potentially a wave that someone could use to win 10 games with a shitty roster for one season.
Yeah.
It would only work for one season, and you would immediately go back. You'd be the Steelers. What you would be is you'd be the Steelers. You'd win 10 games you had no business winning. You'd lose immediately in the playoffs. Like you'd be like a 14.5 point dog in the playoffs. But you would, like, Matt LaFleur could do it. He could do what he did with Malik Willis and just kind of design that offense. You'd have to have like 5 running backs though.
Graham said that sounds like a great way to build a sustainable dynasty.
This YouTube. I mean,
no, but it's a good way. It's a good way to. I think it's a good way to get a little cachet while you keep a job. You know, like you're like, okay, I don't have a quarterback. I'm probably going to get fired after the year. Instead, I'm going to bring in Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and draft Milton.
I'm telling you, that is a more viable thing than what the Raiders did this year. It's 10 times more viable because we saw 2 things happen this year. I've been thinking a lot about this, and Gretch has been like, every article Gretch writes is about this, about like, why did the NFL go this way? What's going to happen next? So a big thing is linebackers have gotten smaller because they needed to excel in pass coverage. So like if linebackers are smaller, and even defensive ends now are not run stoppers. You know, defensive ends exist now to get after the passer.
Right.
So if everyone's smaller and faster and you get bigger and stronger, there's a pretty obvious way to take advantage there. I think you could legitimately win with a quarterback room of Milroe, Fields, and Lance. You'd need a really good fullback. You would need Juszczyk. You would need like Juszczyk, or you would need Alec Ingold. You need exactly. Ben Sinnott. You need a 250 pound guy who could catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You guys,
that you could do like creative stuff with also.
Shope is not on board with this.
This is never going to happen. This never does happen. It's fun. I'm thinking of.
I know it never happens, but it kind of. I think the Steelers kind of did it. They just didn't do it with another.
The
runner.
Packers did it for 2 games this year. The Packers ran the team for 2 games this
That's
year.
right. No, that's right. But they were forced into it. Like, they lost their franchise quarterback for 2 games. Like, all right, how do we win? That's one thing. That's industrious. That's impressive.
But
Nobody's building that.
I'm not asking for them to build. I'm just saying, like, you're outside of the quarterback zone in terms of so either you can mortgage your future to trade up for like Shador, or very cheaply you can bring in guys. You can win more games by spending less at the position, and then next year, you figure it out again.
But what does that sound like at the press conference? Who is the coach that's actually hitching his wagon to this idea? Like, practically speaking, it's really fun. I'd love to see it too. But who is actually going to the press conference? All right, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have 3 quarterbacks. We're going to have a 200.
No, you said we're going to let these guys compete. We're not going to give away that we're.
You're not going to say what you're doing. You say this is a quarterback competition between these
quarterback competition. We love these guys. We feel really confident in this room. Someone's going to emerge.
Good luck.
And Antonio Pierce tried to sell a quarterback competition between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew.
Right. And we knew it wouldn't work, and we were right.
And he let the competition play out during most games. It's pretty
he gave himself a chance, but it wasn't much of one. That's true.
To your point, it would actually probably have to be more of a guy who actually had some organizational stability. Like, it couldn't be like a first-year coach. It could, like, Shane Steichen could not do this. Shane Steichen, so close to getting fired.
No. Davis, try Stefanski on for this. Like, he's 2-time coach of the year. Do you think he could get away with it? I don't. I mean, even a 2-time coach of the year, who can get away with it?
Could.
I think he could. Yeah.
Because I think it would be pretty effective if you had like Justin Fields as like a true runner, and then like you if he doesn't work out, then you're bringing in, like Lance or whoever else. I think it would be.
Whoa, Ryan Grubb just got fired. Ryan Grubb just got fired, literally right now.
Oh man,
Ryan Grubb let go after 1 season for the Seattle Seahawks. I think that is a smidgen of a mistake. I think you probably wanted some more time for him to germinate.
That seems more than a smidgen of a mistake to me.
I mean, they didn't look great. Like, I think there certainly is a little bit.
Their offensive line sucked.
Did they fire him because Geno hit all his bonuses and it cost him $6 million?
Yeah, that might be why.
No, I think they fired him because they probably have something better lined up. They probably have a larger plan here.
Hope Grubb resurfaces. I thought he was pretty solid.
I did not think that. I thought he was fine. Like my instinct to Ryan Grubb in the NFL was not, this is the guy who's revolutionizing offense. I thought he had like good stuff. He was like, this is pretty, you could see this working, but I don't think that this is and obviously no one is going to agree with this because the Kellen Moore narrative has been rewritten, but like Kellen Moore, I thought was like actually revolutionizing the way offense was played for a while in Dallas. I don't feel that way about Grubb.
You never know about the personalities either, right? Like,
yeah,
that's so true. Really like in the back, but
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, contract incentives. I joked about it in the open, and then Geno, click, $6 million. I don't know if Geno Smith. This isn't really fair to him, but I know myself. I might have liked it when my team was eliminated the week before, and then Stafford sits. All right, this is going to be $6 million. I'm going to dump the ball off. I'm going to take that sack. Hopefully we'll win, and he gets their completion percentage. I tweeted this yesterday, and we talked about it on the Bills post-game show. The Bills punter in that game in New England needed one punt inside the 20 for $100,000. I mean, not bad money for a punter. He punted twice. The first one landed at the 18 and bounced backwards and was down to the 21. So, and they cut to his face, and you could just tell, like, that's what the Bills were there for anyway. And then they're in field goal range in the second half, and McDermott punts anyway, probably to get the guy his money. And there's this diving save by Jamarcus Ingram, a defensive back on the Bills, at the goal line, like an inch away from punting it into the end zone from like the 34 or something like that. He gets his money. That was the day yesterday. The Mike Evans, have we ever seen anything like that where you just clinch the division, it's a kneel down, and we're going to throw a pass to Mike Evans for just enough yards, and then the place explodes?
Well, and it's not just for him. That one was my favorite because it's not just about the incentive. It was about, the bigger thing was that he keeps his streak alive. He's the only player to ever do this, to start his career. He's now at 11 straight.
He's tied. He's tied with Jerry Rice.
No. Jerry Rice didn't start, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
11 years to start his career, yeah.
Yeah. This has never been done. Like, it's insane. Like, he since we've debated where he should go in rookie drafts, he's never not had 1,000 yards.
Crazy.
It's wild. And I know, there's an extra game now, and he barely got there this year, but it's still very fun. And it was fun to see how psyched the team was. That was really cool.
I agree. I thought it was very cool. Mike Evans is great. Baker, man, how stoked would you be? I know, Shope, you and I, we love our quarterbacks, but if you were a fan of a shitty team and you got Baker to be your quarterback out of nowhere, like how amped would you be to be like, dude, fuck yeah, this guy wants to compete every day. Baker Mayfield, 3rd and 3 scrambling and just like taking shots to the ribs instead of going, like, you get to get the extra 2 yards. Like, it's so stupid, but the guy just loves to compete.
I mean, I've been sort of wishing for a championship round of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, 4 quarterbacks from the same draft in 2018 with all that's been said and written. It can't happen. The Bills and the Ravens cannot meet in the AFC Championship. And I'm sure you guys know this from drafting your many gauntlets and mittens and whatever else. I've drafted 10. I hope you'd be proud of me. 10 gauntlet teams.
I am proud.
So far. And 5 of them are Mahomes teams. It's really I'll just sort of tee you guys up for this, what you get in terms of a draft slot. I mean, I wanted one of the 4. The top 3 seem to always be Allen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. I've got 1 or 2 of each of those guys, and then Mahomes on the other 5. And with that, I don't have really any Lions teams because my bet was always they would get the 1, which, okay, they did. So I've loved dabbling in the middle to the bottom of the NFC, all of them. Minnesota, Green Bay, Washington, just teams like that to complement Kansas City. So I've liked that about it. Allen is the team to put the rest together. Go on.
Yeah. The team that I'm most nervous I don't have enough of right now, and I actually have a lot left to draft, so this is very fixable for me, but it is the Commanders. I haven't been drafting enough Commanders. They're now in a very winnable game. So, and then what? They would probably go to the Eagles, but it's not.
No, they would probably. Sorry, they would probably
go to the Lions. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
it's not inconceivable that the Packers beat the Eagles. So then, in that case, they would go to. They've already beaten the 3, so they'd go to the winner of the. So they probably play the Vikings at Minnesota, which also would be tough. So the second round is going to be difficult. But even if they go to the Lions, they could score a lot of points in that game in a loss. So you're getting potentially 2 really high scoring weeks out of the Commanders. As a bye week quarterback, I definitely don't have enough Jaden Daniels, like a Jaden Daniels, Terry Skinny to cover buys.
You know what? Yeah. You know what's crazy though is that like a pretty realistic outcome is Rams Buccaneers. The Rams could end up, or the Buccaneers could end up in the conference championship like so easily.
Yeah,
and they score a bunch of fantasy points.
They'll have to win in Philadelphia, or if the Eagles go down to Green Bay, win a second home game. But yeah, I think anything is possible on that side.
Well, I mean, the Commanders, so the Commanders and the Bucs are like that. The Commanders are very live in that game.
Sure.
We've seen the Bucs, like the Bucs almost blew it yesterday to the Saints. Like the Commanders could easily beat them. And that really shakes things up where you have, it could make the Rams road quite a bit easier, especially if the Eagles blow it. So I get, although the Vikings are such a strong, but they play the Vikings first, and then who would they potentially get second? Maybe
it could be anybody if there are upsets, but that could be a home game. What do we think about Minnesota? Davis, you had the clip on how Darnold, we said should be a first round pick, but they will play in week 1.
I think I might be reworking that philosophy, because the thing with Darnold, there are so many things like this in life where like you can't believe you're getting away with it, and the other boot is going to drop at some point, and it feels like the other shoe dropped for the Minnesota Vikings, where it was like they did, Brian Flores called a great game. The Jared Goff was not that successful passing. St. Brown did not kill them. J-Mo didn't have a huge play. It was just they could not get any momentum on offense. None. They just had no point in that game where you like the Vikings are back in this. And specifically, like obviously the Lions matchup did not go well for them, but they match up horribly against the Eagles too, because the Eagles can do the same thing. The Eagles can just hold the ball for 10 minutes. Blitz Jalen Hurts, fine. He'll just hand the ball off. Like, I don't know, man. I feel much more sketched about that.
I just pulled up. Kevin Cole does the adjusted scores, and I was curious to see how much closer the adjusted score was. The adjusted score is almost always closer because it's kind of like moves back to the mean on like some of these high leverage plays. But the adjusted score on a 31-9 game was 26-15, which is still like not good for the Vikings. But I was just thinking, the reason I did that is because like they did have those fourth down. The fourth down plays by the end zone and stuff.
They got zero points from the 3-yard line after the Cam Akers run.
Yeah. So that type of,
but guess what? When Sam Darnold is your quarterback, you're much more. You're. It's not like Evan Mahomes is your quarterback. It's not like just being like, oh, we're just gonna get this. We're gonna easily convert these 4th and 3s.
Sure. Yeah, but you're also. He's going to get those sometimes, and they ran cold yesterday. Like they ran cold in those situations, which is going to swing things. And then like once the Lions kind of turned it on after the Vikings had kind of squandered those opportunities, it just felt like, all right, you're done. You were already struggling, and now you're like in obvious passing situations, and you're not coming back. Gibbs looked so good yesterday. My God.
Well, I don't know what it means to. I don't know what it means to expected points when your running back is just breaking off 20-yard touchdowns. Like, should those be touchdowns? I don't know, but he scored 4 times. And the fourth, you're talking about Minnesota on 4th down, rightly. How about toward the end? The Lions are so in your head. on 4th down. They were not going to go for that. Like the field goal is the easy play there, but they're just setting up. And now you're expecting me to go because I'm Detroit, and 4 Vikings jump. 1st down. Just they're so in team.
And they got a touchdown. They get the Gibbs touchdown on 4th down because they didn't get one, and then they score a touchdown and get a penalty that then they score a touchdown on that drive. Like I love Dan Campbell, man. He's just to get a guy who's so aggressive about going for it in the package that is Dan Campbell is just so amazing. I know. To me.
Did you hear what he said at midfield for the handshake?
No.
To Kevin O'Connell, he said, "Great job, great season. We'll see you in 2 weeks."
Wow.
That was it. How about Gibbs? 1,929 scrimmage yards, 20 touchdowns in the end with 4 last night to lead the league. I know we spent a little bit of time last week on 2025 drafts and the running back order. He did that with Montgomery scoring 12 of his own.
Yeah.
By the way, what's the summation on what Gibbs was in drafts and where he's headed?
I think he could easily be the 101.
Yeah. It will. Crane, I've been thinking about this. I think it's probably Bijan. I think it's Bijan.
Probably Bijan. Yeah, I mean, I think I want Gibbs over Barkley. And think about, like, the dude just scored 4 touchdowns. One of them was from in close. One of them was receiving. One of them was a longer run. And I'm blanking on how far out was the 4th one. I can't remember. But he, like, that kind of touchdown equity just wasn't there for Barkley this year. And given that they were running the tush push with Kenny Pickett, I don't think it's there next year. And he catches the ball more. And he's insanely talented. You know, you get Barkley looked just otherworldly this year, but Gibbs is also really, really good. So,
and he's 22.
He's 22. Now, I guess it depends on what Montgomery's status is for next year.
I mean, he plays all his games in a dome. Montgomery will be coming off of this knee injury. He's almost assuredly going to make it worse by trying to play in the divisional round. I totally get it. And if I was Montgomery, I would probably do this too. Of like, this is our year. What am I going to do? Not win a Super Bowl. I get it, but playing on a strained meniscus that is like at best partially healed, it's gonna be worse for like he'll have to have a surgery after the Super Bowl for sure.
Which affects his timeline for next year. Even if they say he'll be ready for week 1 or whatever, ready for training camp would be the line. You know that's unlikely or, at least risky. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me. Like Gibbs has the exact profile that I look for. It's like, I haven't like run the numbers on this stuff yet, but I would be shocked if he's not like popping as like a clear cut legendary running back candidate.
Does this qualify as a legendary season? 1,900 yards from scrimmage and 20 touchdowns, or no?
It's not 24 points. That's
not
the bar.
Yeah.
He did have 10 points in every game. He did have the floor this year, right? He was the only guy with 10 points in every game.
But Barkley didn't get there either. Now, Barkley's season was so good relative to cost and the other guys you could have taken that, like, it's a legendary season, but it's not. I mean, he also didn't close, like, in that, like, mega way that you would want where, I mean, this game doesn't count, but Gibbs got pretty close to being just absolutely necessary. But, yeah, I mean, Barkley – it's kind of splitting hairs because Barkley's going to be a really strong pick, top 3, top 4 type pick next year. But
it's going to be fun, right? I mean, we talked about this.
And Jeanty is going to be like the 7th pick. Half the first round is going to be running backs.
Again. I wonder if Jeanty will be that high. It depends where he goes. Like if he goes to the Cowboys, sure, but just because you'd be like, he'll just take Dowdle's job right away. But like, I don't know.
What pick is that? Like 12?
Yeah.
Because Bijan, when he came in, he was going, I think, in the early 2nd round before we had a landing spot. And then, like,
weirdly, best ball sickos are, like, somehow more woke to Jeanty than they were to Bijan. Like, people, I don't, maybe it's a brand thing. Maybe it's that he just never got the ball. Like, Bijan, I don't remember was, I don't think he was invited to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Like Jeanty was a whole thing. Here are the spots that he could go where I think he would be a clear first round pick: Dallas, Chicago, Arizona, Cincinnati.
I honestly, Arizona, they're still feeding Connor, man. Like he'll be in a committee with Connor in Arizona, as dumb as that sounds.
So if I remember
There's
correctly,
also Benson.
Benson, I think
just in terms of the draft capital they just spent,
I believe Benson went the way of Eno Benjamin. Yeah, there is a he could just be waived for $2 million dead cap, James Conner.
But what a bad look.
No, they just gave him a new contract, didn't they? Didn't they just extend him?
I'm looking at his SPO tracker right now.
Who?
Okay. Connor.
James Conner.
They love Connor. Yeah. Connor's like a locker room guy. Like they would not. I mean, maybe if they drafted Jeanty, but I would be surprised.
Chargers.
Dallas
at
is the
20.
one.
Oh, Chargers. He might
Chargers
be the one
at 25.
Chargers people would go nuts for. Yeah, but he won't make it to 25. The problem with Jeanty is that he's too good.
Yeah,
he'll go, and like with the way the free agent signings just went at running back. Bijan's looking great. Like he's
Dallas
going to go
is perfect.
Dallas is perfect. Like what is the narrative on their season? Oh, you could have drafted Bucky Irving, or you could have drafted the Lance pick cost you Tyrone Tracy or something like that.
Yeah,
the Lance pick cost them Braylon Allen,
and they traded for Mingo after that. But Darnold did he was good. Pat, you were on him. I couldn't bring myself to Rico Darnold, but it'll be wrong. The narrative on Dallas will be that was what they got wrong, and this is what they should do: draft a running back at 12. And I think it will be ridiculous.
The problem with drafting running back at 12 is that you forego the opportunity to draft one of the positions that aren't available in free agency. Like Henry and Barkley having the seasons that they did off of free agency is exactly why you shouldn't draft a running back at 12, because there's a chance you could get Henry or Barkley on the free agent market when you don't tend to get like offensive tackles or edges or you can get actually wide receivers in the second round, although the very high end guys, do tend to go early. But quarterback, obviously. But
cornerback.
Yeah, corner is huge. Yeah. So that's the biggest. It's just like you're like punting upside. But some team's still going to do it because they're like, this guy is like the fourth best player on our board, and he's at 12, and so we're going to take him. And he's really good, and it won't seem like
working for the Lions, Gibbs.
Yeah, it's working for the Lions. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And Henry not going to Dallas is also part of the Dallas thing because like they didn't call him or whatever he said in the offseason. So I think that's perfect.
What if he goes to like the Raiders though? That's the question here in the chat. What does
who's their quarterback?
Can you imagine the Raiders? It's very Raiders who have drafted for 20 years like they don't have the internet. They've drafted for 20 years. They cannot get online, and they're at 6, and they're drafting a running back at 6.
If it's Cousins, I'm out. If it's Darnold,
it's not. Darnold's going back to Minnesota, right? They're going to franchise tag him.
I don't know about that. What if they lose What if they lose in the wild card round? This week 17 game, lose in the wild card round.
That's always been to me what I think how it ends up is the thing. 2 years ago, it was a worse team, but Minnesota going to the playoffs with the worst point differential ever or whatever that was.
Getting smoked.
And they lose to the Daniel Jones Giants right away. It's always been about for Minnesota, what happens now? And last night is bracing everybody for the worst, I think, when it comes to him and them. They're on the road in LA. I mean, they've lost there already this year. That's a losable game. That's almost a coin flip game, I think. And so what can he do? Can he bounce back from last night? That might be enough. I mean, they had a great season.
I mean, so Darnold has bounced back from a lot worse. Like, remember, I mean, just in his life, but also like, remember the second half against the Jets in London? He looked like he had never played the position before.
Yeah. Yeah. Darnold is, I mean, they effectively pressured him. And he didn't look very good, but they won 14 games. What's the Chiefs' record? I mean, they'd be the 1 seed in almost any other season in the NFC. Would they be the 1 seed in the AFC?
15-2.
Okay. No.
The two 15-2 teams both lost to Buffalo, by the way.
Pretty
Windhorse.
nice.
Where do you guys where do you guys go from there? I don't know where you're supposed to go from there. But
I'm into Buffalo. I think they're very, very fun for the.
Haven't they been sort of shifting back to these drafts? Hasn't it always been like you have to get Allen right, but if you do at 101, it's been so easy. I think for like 3 weeks they were never expected to be the 1 seed. They're not. We even knew last week in drafting they were going to play up to 4 games. It's just been kind of a no-brainer.
How are you building those teams? Because I think the tricky part is like if you just build Bills, you're like, all right, I got all the Bills in round 1, and then like Dalton Kincaid, they do the Aaron Rodgers, they toss it back to Kincaid, then they throw it to Josh Allen, then he throws it back to Kincaid, for 1 yard.
What?
And he has 2 other catches,
The Rube Goldberg machine to get Kincaid to exactly 6.25 PPR points.
Yeah. So half the game plan was dedicated to that. So there's not too many plays left over. And that's half the game plan.
I mean, I think the Bills are interesting for playoff best ball because you can just take as many of them as you want. You could literally have 8 Bills teams, no sweat. You're like Josh Allen could average 35 points a game in the fantasy playoffs and still maybe not be the piece that you need to win because you're bringing along Keon Coleman had 4 catches for 27 yards in the playoffs. Right. Amari Cooper had 1 60-yard touchdown and then no other targets at all. Dalton Kincaid averaged exactly 6.7 half PPR points per game, and the Bills easily won the Super Bowl.
Well,
just like easy,
it's like
fine.
Josh Allen goes for 40 and then like get ready to learn 0 catches from Amari Cooper, buddy. Yeah. It's just so brutal. So
that 40 is worth a lot. I mean, again,
it's worth a lot, but Allen's going to be, he's the 101 in all these drafts. So I've been doing stuff with him where I take Rams, where I'll try to get like Kyron and Puka, or you could go Bucks. You could go I'm trying to go.
I've shared you one of mine.
Oh, okay.
I would love to have the scrutiny. My draft acumen has not really been put to the test by you two. I mean, you guys are drafting constantly. I'm drafting here and there. We've drafted together, and Davis and I have done best ball teams together as partners. But here is an Allen Gauntlet team.
Yeah, this is exactly what an Allen Gauntlet team should look like. You should have 2 Vikings or Lions, Packers are fine, Buccaneers are fine, Rams are fine, and then probably wouldn't have taken Love, but honestly, it's fine. I don't hate that as much as other people would.
The pick I definitely wouldn't do Love because you have Allen, and then he's hitting your lineup every week. But the piece the way I might get weird is honestly instead of Amari Cooper, I would consider going like a Kyron, which breaks the rules. Because that's your 3rd NFC team. But
it just helps you advance.
Yeah, I'm like kind of terrified about getting these Bills through round 1, and then you get so you probably lose. You also could have done that instead of Reed. That's the next round.
Yeah, Williams went right in front of me.
Yeah, Williams went right in front of you. Okay, yeah, I was reading the board wrong. But like a Bucky, something, or you could obviously go to the AFC. Get like a Dobbins. I guess what I'm worried about with this build is that you don't have that much flex firepower. I guess wide receiver, because you got Cooks, wide receiver is actually the bigger concern because you got Cook and Jacobs round 1. So Kyron's the wrong position. It's more wide receiver. Terry, where did McConkey go? McConkey went 5th. Yeah.
28.
Yeah. So he wouldn't have been there. But that's like where my head's at. It's like Cooper's not really helping me advance. So then I'm trading out Cooper and I'm bringing in like Mac Hollins or something like that.
Coleman.
Coleman. I'm skipping the middle class Bills a little bit.
Do you want to see another one?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so nice.
But I mean, if you get that through, I think the Bills pretty quickly become really strong pieces. when you're facing teams that have like a bunch of dead roster spots.
A bunch of dead roster spots. Yeah. But round one, my expectation is that one of Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman, Kincaid, or Shakir legit like gets 0 points. Like not even like 4, but like one of the guys who's 100% draft on the Bills like legit gets 0.
Yes, I agree. All right,
Here's another
Smith, Puka, Kyron.
Yes, this is the one. This is the one that I do the most, where you do Puka and Kyron at that turn, and then you literally have like 5 or 6 Bills. And
but I still do the second quarterback.
I don't think
you should.
Why are you doing the second quarterback?
I don't know.
You got Josh Allen, buddy.
It's for imagine Bills Ravens in round 2 is just a total dogfight. It's 17-14. Kincaid scores a rushing touchdown because they did a quadruple option reverse pitch play to get Kincaid his first playoff touchdown. They have to run it 3 times from the 1 yard line in order to get it, but they do get him in. But Josh Allen only gets like 19, and Stafford gets 24 in a loss.
Everything you said about the Bills, I see it. Stafford getting 24. No,
it's never happened, but it could. It's never happened, but it could.
Why did the Bills have this reputation with Davis for running these ridiculous trick plays? Is it last year's playoffs, or is that one Ravens play? Like those are the 2 trick plays in their history.
Mike, it's not the trick plays. It's that every Dalton Kincaid target is just so tortured, tortured to get him the ball.
By the way, the second quarterback thing, I just want you to imagine getting this team to the Super Bowl and then seeing Matthew Stafford on it instead of like instead of Dallas Goedert or some kind of, I guess he'd probably be gone, but instead of Kenny Gainwell in an Eagles Super Bowl.
It makes sense. Let's hope to find out.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
You got to hope to find out, but when you do find out, you want to like unwrap your little gift to yourself and be like, oh, look at all these live players.
Yeah. That's fair.
Is that our first show? That's fair.
Our first show. That's fair.
Trying to have fun with it. It is fair. Like that's actually
non-derogatory. It sounded semi-derogatory.
Quentin Johnston, by the way, I just closed the screen, but was the last pick of that draft. Just a smooth 13 for 186 on 14 targets yesterday. And if I remember the play correctly, I was watching it. The one was a drop. It was a little bit behind him. But 13 for 186, it's been the story of the season this year is these reclamation projects. Bryce Young, what was that? 5 touchdowns and 40 points yesterday. What about Johnston? Like, is he interesting?
Yeah.
I bought a lot of Quentin Johnston for 3rd round rookie picks this last offseason in Dynasty. And I'm gonna love selling him for 2nd round rookie picks this offseason in Dynasty. I feel the Chargers are going to either take a wide receiver in the 1st round, they're going to sign T. Higgins, they are going to make a dramatic move at boundary wide receiver so that they do not have to rely on QJ, I think.
Maybe T. Higgins is going to cost an insane amount of money.
Chargers have really low cap. I believe they got rid of all their dead weight this offseason. This season, they were like they ate the medicine. If I remember their cap stuff correctly, I think they're about to have a ton of cap space. Someone in chat fact check that for me, but that is my memory.
Davis, are you? Go ahead, Pat. First.
Well, the rookie class this year, I'm just like starting to dig into it. I'm not that impressed with the wide receiver rookie class. It's
going to be Luther Burden.
Luther Burden's a slot. He's like a gadget slot.
I think he's a little bit. I watched a ton of him because he was just always he played for Missouri, so he's like everyone's favorite player here.
Not Rotopat. I asked Rotopat about him.
No, do not ask.
My God.
I am a huge fan.
We got to Percy.
Everybody, doesn't he hate everybody on Missouri? Like I am a huge Rotopat fan. But every time it's Missouri, maybe not Drew Lock, but doesn't he hate everybody on the program? He's always making fun of it.
Well, yes, that's how you if you are a non-national championship contending college football fan, you just like have to actively hate everybody.
Everything about
the Percy Harvin comps came up pretty quickly. The Cordell Patterson comp wasn't too far behind.
I mean, that is one of my favorite players of all time, Percy Harvin. So
he was fun.
Yeah.
Davis.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that into Burden.
The Chiefs will play either Houston, the Chargers, Pittsburgh, or Denver in the divisional round. I have thought and been saying a lot here in Buffalo, the Chargers, I think, are scary for them. It's always close games. They've beaten them. This last one went down to one play. I feel like Justin Herbert, watching him against New England and then a little bit yesterday, see the run he had, almost a touchdown run. I don't know. The guy looks like maybe he's sort of, this is narrative stuff, but gotten to a point where like, okay, now I just have to win. Like this is really all that's left for me. And isn't his team pretty good? I feel like of those 4 teams, the Chargers are the only one who could win. And I think that they'd have a real chance of winning.
No, they just don't have enough good players on offense. But you are right; they're the only ones that are like drawing live. The other teams are dead. At Arrowhead, the Chargers at least like wouldn't be afraid. I guess that's the thing about playing the Chiefs. You see teams in these spots. The Ravens do. The Ravens are really bad at this in the playoffs. They just come in and they're just terrified. They just make like every decision is just done to minimize losing. It's just it's really something to bold. Which I mean, I don't know. Can you blame an NFL team for going against Kansas City and being like, fuck, what It's just like these guys. They just it's the most demoralizing play in football has to be the 3rd and 7 when you think you have Mahomes dead to rights and he just like spins around and just like easily just like walks for the first down. And then he just like, waddles back to the huddle. And you just have to be like, God damn it, that's annoying. That has to be the most annoying thing to watch as someone who hates the Chiefs.
So you don't think the Chargers could beat them? Aren't they all close games every time with those 2 teams?
I mean, the Chargers could easily beat them.
I
think so. What would that
this
game
last
look
one,
like?
The last
that game,
one,
I
the
guess,
Chargers won, but he banked in the field goal. So
that would be. I guess the where I'm coming at is different than you guys is like the team. There's 2 versions of it. There is the team with Hollywood Brown and without it. I think that Hollywood has changed the whole dynamic. The offense just looks so much better, man. The offense just looks it's like a totally different thing. They're just and for forever how bad the Chiefs were this year. Like, oh, dude, the Chiefs are terrible. They have a 97-point differential. They're awful. Led the entire National Football League in converting on 3rd downs. Because that's what they are. That's what they are. They have guys who just excel in the highest leverage moments. The whole team's built out of those guys.
Buffalo, a 9-point favorite against Denver. Baltimore, a 9.5-point favorite against Pittsburgh. I agree with you on the Ravens. The Ravens have to figure out some way this week to imagine the Steelers. They're actually the Chicago Bears or something like that. Just a bad team you should roll, but they're Pittsburgh. And I don't know, like I'd be a little bit afraid for Baltimore in that game because of the history. Same point. Those 2 teams, it's always close games. I'm not a big Tomlin fan, but I really wouldn't want to have to beat him in this spot as that team. So,
I think the Steelers look like they just are giving up. Yeah. It's they like how the Eagles last year, you're like, well, if you actually look back before they started tanking, like they were so good and maybe they recapture and then they lose to the Bucks. It's like that's kind of this Steelers experiment with Russ, I think it's come to a close. So I don't know. I actually think the Ravens will put it on them.
Who's going to be the Steelers quarterback next year?
Man, they're actually in a sneaky bad spot because they can't.
No, that's right, and it was totally predictable all year long that this is what it would end up at. They would get their winning record. They would get a wild card. They would look terrible. If they lose, then I don't know. Like what looks good? Go back a year. Did this? Well, it's not quite a year, but they get to Fields and they get to Wilson. What was the likeliest outcome? This. That
I actually don't think this was the likeliest outcome. I think this is worse than the most likely outcome because Russ's calf, I guess, really was that hurt, and they used that somewhat as an excuse to get a look at Fields, but he didn't blow them away. And then they go back to Russ and they go on this winning streak, and then they go on this losing streak, but it's too close to the playoffs to really switch back. So they still
what a move that would be, though, if they did. Wow, that'd be incredible.
That would be ballsy as hell.
Tomlin is like a guy who could get away with it.
He could get away with it. I think. I mean, you still don't know. Maybe you know. I'm kind of a Fields guy, I guess. I wasn't originally, but I've become one. Where I feel like you still don't really know what you have with Fields. You probably bring him back cheaply, but you can't. He certainly cannot be the primary option. But like I think in the most likely outcome heading into the season, you probably were going to know what you had with Fields because Russ was going to get benched during the year.
Yeah.
You basically slide up the Russ experience up 4 or 5 weeks, and then Fields comes in and you're playing it out with Fields, and you basically see if you can make a playoff run with Fields and get your answer simultaneously on if he's the guy for next year. And you still don't really know that. You don't feel confident enough for him to be the guy. And so now you're probably looking at like, do we bring in Aaron Rodgers? Do we bring in Kirk Cousins? And see if we can bring back Fields again cheaply as a backup / break glass in case of emergency option.
Like with Minnesota, it very well might come down to what happens next, like this week, where it could be the difference between sort of buying into the player or feeling like you can get out when it comes to Darnold and Wilson. The Steelers have not won a playoff game since beating Alex Smith in Arrowhead, 2017, when Mahomes was a rookie, probably on the bench. That's their last playoff win. That's what the story is every year with Pittsburgh. If the Chargers had lost and it was Pittsburgh-Houston this week, what's that? Is that a coin flip, or is Houston still better than Pittsburgh? Like, that could have ended up being the difference. The Ravens are a juggernaut when they're right. Like, they're one of the best teams ever when they're on.
Well, they're like historical front runners. This Harbaugh Lamar Ravens team. You get them down 10 points and guys are yelling at each other on the sideline, but up 10, they're the fucking Harlem Globetrotters, They're just like
Well, if it were Pittsburgh-Houston and Pittsburgh squeezes out that win, I don't know, that looks maybe a lot different. They've ended that drought, and they can sooner sell.
And what would that line be? Would that be like -2.5?
The Chargers are favored in Houston, so I don't know. Like Houston is maybe favored against Pittsburgh. I think yes, but maybe
like
by a field goal.
Yeah, maybe 3. Yeah, they're pretty close. I mean, the line would reflect them being pretty close with the home field advantage for the Texans.
Who would you like? Pittsburgh at Houston. Who would you like?
I would like Houston, but I just feel like the Steelers team is just.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Maybe the Houston teams have run it.
The Texans. Too. The Texans are 31st in the National Football League in success rate as a team.
Their defense is pretty good. It's it didn't look good against the Ravens, but
I'm sure they're enjoying life in the AFC South.
2 points on Christmas Day, man.
Texans are ass. I'm generally on board with this. I don't want to be. I feel very uncomfortable right now saying nice things about the Texans, but I don't know. I've just lost all faith in the Steelers.
What is Denver?
Denver's live. It sucks that they have to go play the Bills, but they if you gave me Denver in Houston, I would want Denver.
Oh, I'd want Denver.
I would lay points. I would lay like less than a field goal.
Now that
I would lay it.
Mims is playing, you get that offense needed a Marvin Mims so bad, and he was just sitting on the bench the whole time.
Peyton was like, "Oh my god, Marvin Mims!"
Oh my, he's like, "Wait, Marvin, you were here the whole time?"
Did he have the nerve to say, I told you guys we needed to get him in, and we planned on it the whole time.
We've been waiting. This is the whole
plan. I've been telling you for years.
He's not said it yet, but he will. If like sometime in this press conference for Buffalo, they'll be like, we knew Marvin. It was a slow burn, but we knew he was ready. And when called upon, he next man up. And it's like we're all trying to
underestimating him. He was angry. He was sick of people underestimating him.
But he also needed to mature. He needed to develop. There's a little bit of that in here too that he needed to do. But listen, I'm on the air yesterday for the post-game show after a meaningless Bills game against New England. It's all about what happens in Denver, Kansas City and Denver. So Broncos get the ball. Nick started 17 for 17, 183 and 3 in this game. And Nate Adkins, I'm not going to remember the order. I have it written down, somewhere else. Nate Adkins, McLaughlin. I might get the order. Franklin, Vele, Javante, touchdown to Mims. First 6 plays, 6 different guys. They come out second, and Estime was the play action fake on the Mims touchdown. They come out second possession, first play, Lil Jordan Humphrey. And then eventually gets to Sutton, and then to Estime. It wasn't literally 9 plays, 9 different guys, but almost. And I mean, on a fantasy show, what do you do with that? You didn't see any Broncos on my board. I probably wouldn't see many on yours. But yeah. I mean, that's just like, who is any of them? How about was it Vele who caught the touchdown pass that bounced off 4 hands?
That was so cool. That was a cool play. Yeah.
That's a pass to
Normie Pat was loving that. Normie Pat was
that was cool. That was very cool.
Yeah.
The only thing that Normie Pat didn't like was that Romo kind of ruined the call because he's like, "Oh, I think he was out, dude. You did such a great call, Nance." But yeah, come on, Romo. That's what Normie Pat cares a lot about the announcing because it really makes the experience better.
Yeah, Normie guys are like, dude, Brady's terrible in the booth. He's awful.
Brady is terrible.
He is, but if you're watching Red Zone, you don't really get that much of it. You know?
I'm always like, whenever they go to the Brady one, I'm always like, who is this? Who is this?
Because right. It's a new voice. Like, we all know all their voice. Like, even Romo now has been doing it for so long that you just like know his voice. And then I'm like, wait, is Tom Brady talking over a Buccaneers game right now? He was teammates with Mike Evans. This is very bizarre, like Brady.
I always think, and I don't. This is obviously extremely derogatory, but this is just what comes into my head. I'm like, man, Greg Olsen is just not bringing it today. Because he kind of sounds like Olsen to me, but just like no energy. The points are just like vanilla as shit. What would you say you do here, Tom Brady?
It helps to have a good partner. It helps to have a good partner, somebody that can put the right questions in front of you, get you going, tweak when it's needed. It really, you need that.
Oh yeah.
What?
I feel like you're just you're patting yourself on the back here.
No, I'm talking about his partner.
Really what Brady's real issue is he doesn't have a good enough post.
I'm only talking about his partner he's broadcasting like he's broadcasting to kids, in my opinion. But I'm very strict.
Wait, who is his partner?
Kevin Burkhardt. Just, the chops are
Was he
lacking.
with Olsen before? Or did they just demote? Okay. Because I didn't mind him before. I never noticed him.
Well, get ready for a large dose when it comes to the Super Bowl, because that's your Super Bowl.
Oh God!
Crew this
year. They're giving Brady the Super Bowl.
He doesn't sign any other way.
Let him go against the Raiders. Go get out of here, Brady.
There's your 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback, Tom Brady.
Yeah, there you go.
Owns the Raiders.
He owns the
Who
Raiders.
do you think it is? Who's their starting quarterback?
I don't know. Who could it be? I mean, it could
be Rodgers.
Could definitely be Rodgers.
Could be Cousins.
Could be Cousins.
Milton.
Could be Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Jalen Milroe if Mike Tomlin has the courage.
Come on, man. Come on, Mike.
All on the field together.
Oh my God. Imagine that. Imagine a read option with Jalen Milroe and Justin Fields. How do you defend that, brother?
As we come to a close here.
See Pat gets involved somehow.
Yeah.
So Gauntlet, like 2/3 filled. Are you guys just hammering that this week?
Yeah, hammering. Because I'm at like I have 100 drafts left to do in there or something.
What are you trying? You mentioned Washington. I guess you already answered this. What are you trying to make up for? Maybe it's a little bit of Washington.
More Washington, less Packers. I've got too many Packers, including Christian Watson, who just tore his ACL the child let us know, which is a real bummer.
Oof.
But yeah, I'm a little like Saquon for sure. It's hard to build with Saquon. It's hard to build with Hurts because they both you don't get them together, and then not getting them together is tough. Although you can get Hurts and AJ Brown and Devontae, so you can build that way. But it's a bummer not to have Hurts, Saquon, and then Saquon you end up with like Goff a lot of the time, which sucks. So yeah, or Darnold is your bailout quarterback now, and that's obviously not ideal with Saquon. So
maybe did we talk ourselves into Justin Herbert a little bit? I don't know. Like maybe.
Yeah, I like that. I like him as a bailout.
If you're starting with Barkley or Gibbs, or especially Barkley, I guess
you could go Gibbs, Barkley, and then play like a Chargers Super Bowl. and just like have, the Eagles or the Lions, whichever one.
And so no QB2 if you have Allen or Hurts or Jackson, or are the rules different for the other two guys?
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, with those guys, I'm not really. The only time that I've been doing a quarterback 2 when I don't really need it is like if I'm giving myself. So in an example like that, like where I went like Gibbs,
you want to give yourself
Barkley,
the second Super Bowl.
So Gibbs, Barkley, I'm just like, and then I just like play it through the Eagles and the Lions on the NFC side, and then maybe I would do like a Herbert. But you don't really lose the other option, like a Stroud or a Knicks. Maybe you'd go like a Knicks, something. They make an improbable Super Bowl run. Obviously, that's tough for you, Mike. But
no, it'd just be incredible, right? I mean, rookie quarterback, 9-point favorite underdog in Buffalo, and then they go to Arrowhead and they do both of those things, and
they do both. It's kind of crazy.
That'd be incredible.
You had Stroud is a guy and Wilson. This whole thing made more sense back when we had some belief in these AFC non-Chargers teams, but that's the idea for me. Is like if I mean maybe you could do it like if you did it on the AFC side, and you give yourself 2 outs through the NFC, like maybe a Daniels and
Mayfield,
and Darnold,
Stafford, very doable.
Yeah, you could do it like that. I'm rarely doing. I've been locked out of something. Someone sniped me is what happens when I'm drafting 2 quarterbacks. I'm like, well, I guess I'm betting on Jaden Daniels to make the Super Bowl now.
And we are going to go with that's what happened to me on those teams. Write it up like that.
But I mean, it's definitely not like impossible that your second quarterback outscores your Josh Allen, but it's just like at what cost, did you get those extra quarterback points? Because you get to the Super Bowl, especially in the bigger stuff where there's going to be dupes most likely, like having a guy hit your lineup with like 7 points that differentiates you could win you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Davis, we'll be watching you draft some more of these teams, I assume, this week.
Yeah, I'm doing playoff best ball right after this. Crane, do you want to join or are you busy?
I can join.
Okay, cool. So Corain and I are going to draft some playoff best ball teams over on my channel using the legendary Upside Sidekick right after this.
Unfortunately for you both, I am busy. Off to my job.
Your day job, where you get to go talk about the Bills
for 4 hours. There's a hockey game tonight, so that's going to
4 hours. Wow. Do you get nervous at the end of each of those hours?
Well, that's the thing. That's the
thing. I'm very excited.
When you do radio, you're just locked in. There is no optionality. You see 57 minutes 34 seconds and an ad is playing even if you're in the middle of a point.
That's true.
Like I said, when I worked at ESPN radio, you had to get it to the decimal point, 0.0, right? You have to get not just the second, but the 10th of a second. Or at least that's how I remember it, because I was good at it. That's how I remember it. Pat Corain, Davis Maddock. Sorry again about Mishka. Davis, great being with you guys here on January 6th. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next week on ADP Chasing. Okay, guys. Right. Thank you.
Oh, wait. I never ended the stream. We're still.
You sure didn't.
Oh. I'm leaving. This.